So, have you ever been in a situation where all of a sudden you realize, I do not have what it takes? And then one of your weaknesses is exposed? Well, good news, you're not alone. This has happened to me so many times, and you and I aren't the first or the last people who've experienced that. So, there's this guy in the New Testament, his name is Paul, and he tells us about this thorn that he has in his flesh. So, he's dealing with some kind of uncomfortable weakness. No one really knows exactly what it is. And on 3 separate occasions, he begs God to take that away from him. And so, is there a weakness or a thorn in your flesh that you've been begging God to take away from you? Full vulnerability moment for me. In 2017, I felt just like Paul. I had been begging God for years to take away the thorn of chronic illness from my flesh. And there had been seasons that were okay, seasons that were really hard, but so many ups and downs, and ultimately just never having answers that made sense as to what was going on. And it all came to a head in 2017 where I was just so weak, so tired. There were days I couldn't get to the kitchen and back from my bedroom without feeling like I was going to pass out, and I was just tired of fighting. And so I would love to tell you that after I begged God to take my illness away from me that he did, but instead, just like Paul, he didn't. And I had to grapple with the words that are written in 2 Corinthians 12:9, where God says to Paul, "My grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness." And then Paul responds, and he says, "So now I'm glad to boast about my weaknesses so that the power of Christ can work through me." And if you're someone who's been begging God to take a weakness or a thorn out of your flesh, then you know how hard those words are to swallow. How do you even begin to believe that God's grace is enough and that Christ's power is actually going to work best amidst your weaknesses? Or to even get to the place where Paul's at, where he's got a great attitude about his weaknesses because of how he sees Christ's power at work. So today I want to challenge you with something that I've had to challenge myself with so many times over the last 7 years. I want you to find one place throughout your day-to-day where Christ's power or God's grace is at work amidst your weaknesses. Maybe you're going to find that God's grace looks like some friends who come alongside you and are holding you up amidst a hard day. Or maybe there's going to be money that randomly shows up in your bank account that you weren't expecting. Or finally, you get courage from somewhere outside of yourself to engage a really hard conversation that you've known needed to happen for a really long time. Either way, amidst your weaknesses today, even when it doesn't make sense, try to find one place where Christ's power or God's grace is working. Let me pray for you. Dear Jesus, I just pray that you would be with us today as, we lift up our weaknesses to you and we surrender them and just say, God, we're ready to see you work through them. Please help point our eyes to where you're working so that we can see your power at work, that we can feel your grace in our life, even when it doesn't make sense, and to trust you with that. Amen.